if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm looking at that Houston situation. Why would you
Very
want
random.
that job?
Was only 32 of them.
Why? Yeah,
And
it's
at some
fine.
point,
Yeah, at some point. But why would you want that job? I know
well,
it's easy for
because
everybody. Hold on, Keith. I know it's easy for everybody to plug him into that scenario. But I'm going to say to you this. I think one of the things that people in the national media gloss over that I hear a ton of people talk about in Houston is Jack Easterby and his influence on this organization and his relationship with the owner McNair. See, so you bring in Nick Caserio, a guy that feels like, hey, that was a Jack Easterby decision. I don't know why you would think if you're a head coach, if you're coming into this scenario, that you're actually going to have somewhat autonomy or that Caserio is going to have autonomy when Easterby's influence over this organization has been the reason why they've been making some of these decisions in the first place. It feels like you sign up for something that you're not going to have control over. And I don't know why, if you're Eric Bieniemy, why you would want to come to a scenario like that. Why just not stay in a place like Kansas City where you're going to constantly be at the forefront of these types of conversations? It has to be the right job. It can't just be a job.
I'll tell you the answer to that real quick. This is my opinion.
But what I was going to say before Jay told me, hold on.
Yeah, because I didn't cut you off like you normally cut me off, Keyshawn.
Is that, no, you cut me off a lot. But we're not going to have that conversation. And I don't know that Eric Bieniemy wants the job. He's interviewing for it, but I don't know that he wants it. Because if Deshaun Watson's not going to be there, I'm not taking that job. The appeal and the lure to take that job is because I got one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the National Football League underneath the center. If he's not there, then, there's nothing to really have a conversation about.
And that's my point. I would extrapolate it, Jay, to your world of the NBA. I mean, if you're a lifelong NBA assistant and one of the 30 comes open, whether it's the Los Angeles Lakers or the Sacramento Kings, you're going to jump at that opportunity because you never know when it might come around again. I mean, just take a look what happened yesterday in actuality. If that injury to Mahomes happened in week 4 next season and Bieniemy's still the offensive coordinator, then they've got to go 12 games with their backup or somebody like Jordan Ta'amu off the practice squad. Suddenly you finish 4-12. Eric Bieniemy is not going to be a hot candidate. I guarantee you, even though he's been a great coach and he's put all that experience in there, one bad season, what people are going to say? Look what he couldn't do without Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying it's right, but that's obviously the first thing people are going to go to. It's the first thing people are going to go to.
No, that's true. Help us understand why Brian Daboll, as well as Eric Bieniemy, have not been hired just yet.
Well, they both should be, and they both deserve, because the object of the exercise, we just talked about Deshaun Watson. That's a big part of the conversation. The other part of the conversation is to bring in coaches that have developed and won with young quarterbacks. Eric Bieniemy's done that with Patrick Mahomes. Brian Daboll's done that with Josh Allen. They're both playing right now. I think that has to a certain extent, hurt their candidacy from a standpoint of they can't put their staffs together. And I've been there. I've hired 4 head coaches. And candidly, the tie goes against the coaches that are still playing because they're getting worried that they can't deliver on who they want to bring with them in terms of their assistant coaches. They want to take the bird in the hand when they get another offer instead of waiting on what they think is going to be maybe an offer if this coach gets a job. So, there's been a lot of talk, Key, for years that should the whole coaching cycle start after the Super Bowl so it equals a level playing field. We saw that for years in New England where some of these coaches got bypassed because teams didn't want to wait. And I got to think that Eric Bieniemy and Brian Daboll are being affected by that today. Now, I don't know if that's the only reason they don't have jobs as of today, but I got to think that's a factor.
Mike, on that tip real quick, and we're being joined by Mike Tannenbaum, our front office insider on the Goodyear hotline, to make it a little bit more equitable, to give those coaches that frankly have had success an opportunity to be more successful and promote themselves and not have it as a detriment that their team keeps winning and winning and winning. And that doesn't make any sense. That's counterintuitive. How difficult would it be, or what is the process to make sure, to your suggestion, that things would be done afterwards? I mean, what's the obstacles to getting something like that done? It just makes common sense.
Yeah, Zubin, I had the great fortune in my career to represent Steve Kerr. I represented coaches in both football and basketball. And Steve Kerr lost a couple of coaches during the finals and still won championships. And Steve Kerr was all about trying to help his assistants get to where they want to go. So the NBA model works. I saw it firsthand. So one idea would be simply that between the bye week of, let's say, the championship game and the Super Bowl, Eric Bieniemy could be named the head coach of the Houston Texans. Then you turn it over to Nick Caserio, the general manager. Let him get going on all the coaching hires, which I've done before. It's a lot of work, but it certainly could be done with minimal contact with Coach Bieniemy. Let him get ready for the Super Bowl. And again, we've seen it in the NBA. It works. So the system is flawed from a standpoint that it penalizes success. You know, we saw it with Romeo Crennel, Josh McDaniels, Charlie Weiss for all those years in New England where those guys had deep playoff runs. And if we want to make an equal playing field, if we want this process to be more transparent and include more people, I think you have to figure out a way to equalize it, because guys like Eric Bieniemy right now, clearly when some of these decisions are close, they're going to lose the benefit of the doubt. And let's face it, guys, if we're having this conversation in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are still going to be in that conversation because they have a great young quarterback.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.